Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started on the May 15th Technology Committee meeting. Go ahead and introduce ourselves. Kevin Strobel.
Jennifer Leone.
Scott Matz.
Greg Cooper.
Alrighty. So if it's May, it is time for technology by the numbers. Typically what we try and do for the year-end wrap-up. So we're going to dive into this. So before going through the actual presentation, I wanted to just give you a little bit of background of the framework I utilize in our office just for tracking goals, tracking performance within our office. And we utilize a framework called OKRs, which stands for Objectives and Key Results. And if you're not familiar with that, very similar to KPIs, which would be key performance indicators, slight difference there. But again, just a way to measure what you're doing, more importantly, why you're doing it. So in OKR world, you can think of it as a roadmap. And the objective would be answering the question, where do we want to go? And the key results are asking, well, how will we know if we got there? So as we go through this, you'll see that objective and key result be the theme we're going through throughout this presentation. For the record, Steve Rittenhouse is not here. So within our office, when we are looking at the areas that we want to set objectives, where we want to set key results, when we were looking at that, we basically settled on four main areas: integration, communication, security, and support. And previous years, when we do these technology by the numbers presentations, we primarily have focused on integration. And tonight, I'd like to focus on the three other areas in the form of communication, security, and support. Our back-end area. All the great things that we can do in our classroom are largely powered by areas that fall into these three categories. I will do my best to make this as concise as possible. This is one of my favorite quotes from Churchill, that the report by its very length defends itself against being read. I am hoping that this will be simple, and I'm trying to keep it as high level as possible so you can see hopefully some themes that you've read throughout the year in my weekly updates that they drive back to one of these three categories. So without further ado, looking at communication. And our primary objective when we look at communication is we wanted to improve district-wide technology communication through timely and predictable messages. So obviously, technology can be overwhelming. One of the easiest ways for us to overcome that is by sending out as much information as possible to our users. Certainly, everyone's always wondering what's going on in this box of ours, what changes is technology making now, what updates have come out. So we set four key results, and they're around basically building newsletters going out either on a monthly or weekly basis. And in the integration heading, we wanted to publish at least 10 integration newsletters, and the title of that newsletter is What the Tech. In security, we had a similar goal for 10 newsletters. That is Stop Clicking That is the name of that one. A general news one, which is published by myself, and that's TLDR, which is Internet Shorthand for Too Long Didn't Read, which is what I assume most people think of my emails. And in the professional learning area, we publish a weekly tech tip, which is called Feature Friday, and that's new for this year. Just a very short thing out to our teachers with simple things as how do you set up an out-of-office message, or how do we color code Google folders. Very simple, from the easiest, little, most mundane tasks that we found people just didn't know, and because they thought it was simple, they didn't want to ask. So we were able to achieve our target for all of these. We did get out our monthly newsletters, and we saw that return as we looked at just readership of that newsletter. So What the Tech, published by Dr. Driehaus, averaged about 3,400 readers throughout the year. We're still ongoing. This is as about the end of April is when I pulled these newsletters. These do not reflect our May newsletters that are still going out. Stop Clicking That, about 4,100. That's published by Chase Endy in our office. He sends out security tips, just latest information on scams that we're seeing either in the district or potentially people may experience at home. About 3,900, just shy of 4,000 for our general news. And then Feature Friday that we send out on a weekly basis, that is obviously going to have a much larger view count just based on that weekly send rate. However, if you average that out over the number of newsletters we send, works out to about 4,100 per month. or not per month, 410 per month. Looking at system security, I think this objective is one that we'd all expect. So our objective here is to ensure the security of all of our infrastructure and user devices. Obviously, cybersecurity is a frequent theme. When I send out updates, it's a frequent theme of discussions we've had in this meeting. And we've established key results to carry on with that objective. So when we look at our servers, all of our non-critical operating system updates, we want to apply to our servers within 30 days. And I highlight that word, two words, non-critical, because those would be our routine updates that can be applied in a non-emergency manner. Critical updates that come down, we apply within a week typically, if not within a day or two, depending on the nature of it. Similarly for our end users, so that would be our employee laptops, that would be our student devices. We apply those updates within 45 days of release. And then we're working on a patch management routine to apply software updates within 30 days of release. And that's something I started talking about in my updates here in the second half of this school year. And that's something we're looking to formalize for next year, sending out updates to our users, letting them know this system update is available, you can apply it at your choosing, or after a certain time period, we are just going to force it on them. So we've achieved with our servers within 30 days, 96% rate. We're continuing to grow that, but we're very happy with that percent application. With our end users, we're at 89% within 40 days, and then that formal patch management process that we're beginning to implement, the intention is to get this above the 90% threshold, if not higher. By forcing the application of the updates, we should see a darn near 100% application rate. It would be devices that really just aren't turned on or heavily used that are still going to fall outside of that range, and we're going to go do those manually. So as I referenced, how are we doing this? It is scheduled maintenance. Wherever possible, we try to do things on a scheduled routine. So all of our servers, all of our network switches, those things, we have monthly targets that we apply those updates at certain times throughout a given month. That allows us to ensure things aren't falling through the cracks, because it's a very deliberate activity for us. The only time we defer from that schedule would be for those critical updates that need to be applied outside of a routine. The next thing would be with our end users, we try to utilize self-service wherever possible. Feedback that we have received from users is when we force the updates, they always happen at inopportune times. It's when you're working on a presentation, you're working on grading papers, and all of a sudden IT is popping up saying, your device is going to reboot in 15 minutes, or your device is going to reboot within an hour. So this year we've made a deliberate effort to give about a 10-day window that we will notify users that updates are available and allow them to apply it. But if they don't apply them within that 10-day period, it's that last and final choice of a forced installation. And that is really our last choice, are no more options available to us, that we're going to force it because we can't allow these devices to get too far out of date. And that's when our users will see that your computer is going to restart in X number of minutes. Looking at user support. So all of this dives into that user support category. And our objective is always to maintain a high level of user satisfaction. IT can be certainly annoying when we're applying updates and coming at you with these things. Certainly cybersecurity, multi-factor authentication, they're all things that do not necessarily make our job the easiest it can be, or our goal is to make us the safest and the most efficient that we can be. So always we're keeping a focus on that high level of user satisfaction to make any change that's coming down through the pipeline is, as tolerable as possible and hopefully welcomed. One of the ways we do that is by measuring how quickly we're responding to tickets, how quickly we're resolving tickets. So on the response side of things, I want a response to go out to our tickets same day 4 out of 5 times. And that response may be the resolution to the ticket. That response may be, hey, we got your ticket, we're looking at it. We find that people are much more accepting of issues when they know it's been received, they know someone's looking at it. Just a simple acknowledgement, hey, we have eyes on your ticket, we're working as quickly as possible, dramatically improves user satisfaction, because at least they know they haven't submitted the ticket into this technology help desk abyss that did someone get eyes on it? Do they even know about my issue? That response will help users feel a little bit more confident about resolution. And then obviously within the resolution front, we want the ticket resolved within the prescribed time, at least 80% of the time. Again, that 4 out of 5 times. The prescribed amount of time can vary depending on the ticket. An urgent ticket is going to be same day. Some other tickets that come through, things we'll say for an app installation, that has a more relaxed time frame within 1 to 3 days. So these are tickets that are getting resolved within whatever time frame is applicable to their ticket. So we do that based on things of actually cybersecurity that we were just talking about. That's going to be an urgent ticket. We want that resolved as quickly as possible. But hey, can I get a new external mouse? That's going to be a little bit slower of a response time for us. And both those things, again, driving back to that desire to maintain at least a 90% user satisfaction rating for this school year. So when we look at that response and resolution rate, we were able to respond 94% of the time within the same day, and we were able to resolve tickets within that prescribed amount of time 95% of the time. And it's important to notice with these SLAs, so service level agreements is the typical term that we utilize for these type of response rates. It's saying we're going to deliver this level of service to you, the end user. We agree to respond in that amount of time. We can see a trend as we look over the last 4 years that prior to our current staffing level towards within Nimble IT, we were at about a 75% response time frame. Our resolution time was a little bit higher at about 85%. And you can see how that's grown over the last 4 years as we've developed a more predictable system, a more deliberate system. We're not just trying to survive any longer. So again, 2019, you can see that growth rate that has occurred for both resolution in the pink, or response in the pink, and in the tealish color, that resolution time frame has increased as well for us. And of course, within the time frame there is our lovely pandemic, where a technology explosion occurred, and we're still at least able to keep a trend moving upwards for it. And with this technology explosion, we've seen our support grow as well. So we noticed a substantial ticket increase over the last 4 years. So in 2019, we were at about 2,100 tickets. We peaked out, of course, in pandemic year 2020 at about 4,300 tickets. In 2021, we averaged about 4,100 tickets, and I believe we'll be on track to end the year in 2022. That is year to date there, so you can see a slight decline for 2022. I believe that will creep up by the end of June 30 to be level. So an almost 75% ticket increase for us over the last 4 years, as well as a device increase, about a 51% increase, obviously, as we've rolled out our K-12 one-to-one, our virtual learning carts, access points to support that. So we've grown substantially in the amount of support we provide, the number of devices we provide, but we still have been able to improve what we're doing as well to provide a better level of support to our users as far as response and timeliness of resolution. And thankfully, that bears out in our user satisfaction results, which remains at 98%. That's where we were at last year, and we're quite pleased with that people are, number one, I think, very fair as far as evaluating us. We're not at 100%. I'd be very concerned if we were at 100% because that would indicate people are not being honest with us. But it does also indicate that our response rate, our resolution time, is yielding satisfaction with our help desk tickets, which is very important to us, and that is going to be a constant metric for us. When we send a survey out to users, it does evaluate us based on these 3 categories. Was it resolved in a timely manner? Was communication effective? And then we do ask just general, what can we do to improve? And at the end of the school year, we do look through those tickets just to see, is there anything that the users are providing that is a hiccup? This year, we rolled out an email address that people can submit tickets to. Previously, it was a web form that they had to contact. And one of the feedback we received in previous years was, the website is fine, but it's not the fastest way for us. So we rolled out an email address, so dvhstech, the aictech@dbrew.org that people can just fire off a quick email to. Doesn't necessarily go through the same routing, but it gets the ticket to us, and then we can get to the appropriate individual in our office. And that was very well received. And it also helped on my end, because I constantly am beating the drum. I'm sure you've heard in your own companies, please submit a ticket, please submit a ticket. Don't email us directly. And there's a very logistical reason for that, because if someone's out sick, is on vacation, an email sits in an inbox and isn't necessarily read by someone in our team. In our help desk, we have numerous eyes on it, and we can get it resolved that much faster. So users were recognized the compromise that if they could send an email to us directly, they can send an email to the help desk, and that has worked out much better for us. I was pleasantly surprised at the number of people we do track just to see how many tickets are coming in through that source, because if we're addressing a concern, I'm hoping to see people are utilizing it. And we saw a large uptick in the number of users who abandoned our web form and went with that. So that was a fair compromise on both ends. It accomplishes what we wanted, also accomplished what the users were looking for. Time. All right. So moving forward, I don't have slides for this because I wasn't quite sure how I would do with time. For the upcoming year, we're going to stick with the same metrics you're looking at. We're going to just increase our rate. So instead of 85% or 80%, we'll tick that up to 85, 90% for our resolution time. Because one of the key things for OKRs is it's not just measuring current performance. There needs to be a growth, a reach in it. So that's the primary difference with an OKR versus a KPI or key performance indicator. Key performance indicator shows that then and there. An OKR is supposed to help you what's the path you want to go on. And certainly our path is improving our response rates. It's improving our resolutions. So we'll be ticking up those percentages and, again, pushing our staff to resolve things that much quicker, to make sure we're responding that much faster, to yield growth in that user satisfaction. Similarly, it'll keep us on track for the Feature Friday, those weekly emails. That worked out, all said and done, I think to about 30, 35 emails. We want to continue sending out new features and don't want to let that slide. So weekly tasks, if you don't have something necessarily measuring you, they're easy to let slide, but it's holding us accountable to continue sending out that information, because we did receive very positive feedback from our faculty, so we want to continue doing that. So moving forward, basically, we just want to grow. We're not going to change dramatically what we're doing. We want to grow in what we're doing rather than going through, we went through enough cycle of change over the last 3 years, so now it's about getting good at what our intentions are for supporting our users. Questions on any of the data that I just ran through?
What was the OKR stand for again?
Objectives and key results. If you're really interested in it, there's a book called Measure What Matters, and it's really interesting.
Sounds like it. Did you actually answer a ticket if it comes, did you actually answer a response if it comes straight through an email, or is it just
A little bit of both. It depends on the nature of it. Typically, we will respond just as a courtesy, but we will CC the help desk so the ticket goes in. Usually people will, because they'll get an automated message now that their ticket's been received. Usually people get a clue, but we try to strike a balance. We do have some repeat offenders that I'll have a conversation with, like, hey guys. Yeah. Or it lends itself to a situation where someone does have a sick day. Hey, I emailed so-and-so, why am I not getting back? Well, had you followed this procedure, you would have, because the email's sitting in their personal inbox. That's why you didn't get the response, and usually a light bulb goes off then once they made that correlation to the request. But we try not to be outright, no, we won't respond. I tell people that's what's going to happen, but we try to be accommodating.
That's good. Good stuff. Next. Okay. If there's no other questions, what's the next one?
All right. Other than that, our last thing was just updates for the projects. Our website remains on track. No change there. Today we sent out information to verify employee contact information. 2 weeks out, we will have training with our office staff at the end of May. It's all in preparation for that launch. We have a meeting with them tomorrow. I anticipate we'll start setting a hard date. In my head, I'm expecting that week of June 5th, but we'll confirm that with them. But we're pretty much rounding the bend on that one.
Any issues?
No, that has been a smooth rollout. Any issues really have been more so on our end, just getting data exports accurate, that sort of thing. But from Apogee side, they've been really on the ball. They've been very communicative, and that's been appreciated that they reach out with us. So we're expecting a smooth rollout.
Problems? Page conversion?
Not yet. Yeah. Luckily, while we're certainly moving on to, I think, better functionality, the functionality of our current provider was relatively standard, so we couldn't do anything bizarre with it. So I think that's helped with our migration as well. They were following pretty standard HTML web guidelines.
Gotcha.
Other than that wraps up the information for May.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I guess that will conclude our technology meeting.